All right, let's start by taking roll. Not just because it's the first week of school, but also because there's a new depth chart out. So, Paulie Podcast still here, accounted for and reporting for Cardinals Underground. We know Dani Sureck is here because the biggest ISO cam is in use. And
our ISO cameras are the same size, Paul.
Dani doesn't go anywhere without her specific ISO cam, as we learned last week.
I have the smallest lens, it looks like.
Darren Urban. Now, there is a question, Darren, as to whether you're going to be sitting out the preseason with your veteran status, whether you might be in the back of the press box on game day.
I've only got about 30 snaps in me to be really effective, Paul.
Street clothes and sunflower seeds in the back of the press box. You can let Zach Gershman maybe take over and force on game day in the preseason.
I will say this, that we haven't had any cuts yet. I mean, the depth chart is the depth chart. The Cardinals put out a depth chart with 12 starters on defense. So, first of all, if they have 12 starters on defense, I guarantee you they're going to take a jump like we all expect.
Quite the advantage.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I mean, if we had the replacement refs from 10 years ago, they probably could get away with 12 players on defense, and the replacement refs never would have noticed.
This is not football related, but I wanted to bring this up off the top. Speaking of being veterans and kind of being old school, new school, we all go to the gym, and you see you can have wireless headphones now, correct? You can Bluetooth pretty much anything to your phone. Heck, you can have the headphones that are self-contained. You don't even need your phone, and you can play radio or music through it. Every once in a while you see the wired headphones, and you're like, okay, I get it. I think I would probably move past that at this point, especially when you're at the gym. You want to have a little bit of leeway with what you're doing. I was at the gym. I saw they were over the ear headphones, so not earbuds, but over the ears, wired, connected to.
Don't say it.
A laptop. And as this gentleman went from machine to machine,
where did you put the laptop?
It was open in a V, and then he would put it on its side next to him as he was working out. That's a first for me. I've seen people with laptops at the gym because they want to watch a video to do a sequence of stuff, but you're in that middle. But I've never seen anybody doing machines with it, and it was clear that all he was using it for was whatever he was listening to.
Maybe he's light years ahead of us. I will say, in an almost backwards way, wired headphones are becoming trendy. They are making a comeback. Some people think that scientifically it's somehow better for you than not using Bluetooth, and it's become a thing of also a lot of younger people who are streaming or recording themselves on different social media platforms. It has the microphone. I don't know. But I will say wired headphones are making a comeback. But I've never seen a laptop at the gym.
I don't really have an issue with wired headphones. Having them connected to a laptop at the gym when you're walking around with it and setting it down by the side.
Would have been even better if he was playing a DVD in his laptop.
So I just had to get that out over the top.
There's also Jim Dude who walks around with a big duffel bag, the full-blown travel duffel bag, and he drops it at every station. Dude, there's a locker room over there. Use the locker room. I think I'm the only guy in the gym, though, that has neither headphones nor earbuds in. I'm the only one.
Oh, so you just raw dog the whole workout.
You don't listen to music while you work out?
I figure, you know what? I blow out my ears enough with headphones on all the time because for a living. I never wear them in the gym.
What? So, if you just listen to yourself, your feet pound on the treadmill, or
where do you think I come up with all this great analysis? It's my time to think, it's my time.
Paul, that's actually insane behavior.
You don't understand the insanity of Casa Calvisi.
If we had an insane behavior segment, that would be on it.
I mean, the volume level, you think it's loud on Cardinals Underground, just come over to Casa Calvisi, 24/7. So I need the peace and quiet for at least an hour.
I will say I am somebody, I don't have a gym bag, but I have a backpack with my basketball in it. And also that's the best way to let everybody know that that's what you're using there.
So the major takeaway from this is that we all go to the gym.
Yeah.
That's the major takeaway.
That's sort of
that is.
That's
and I don't use a laptop there.
Okay.
Let's hear Paul's segue.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail us, but I saw that and I felt the need to bring that up.
Okay. By the way, you did mention something I also have an issue with, and that is 12 players on the depth chart.
We'll take it, Paul. Good work.
I mean, why not 13? Why not 14? Why not 15? This is a dangerous precedent, I'm here to say, if you're going to go with more than the 11 on the depth chart.
This is spoken like a true guy who's about to handle play-by-play in the preseason, and he's already frustrated with – because here's the problem with the 12. It's not just that there's 12 and that's one more than you would actually have on the field. It also jacks up, like, the rest of the depth chart. Like, if you've got 12 as the first string, you also have 12 as the second string, and now all of a sudden it's a lot harder to figure out, who are your true backups and who's really a third stringer.
Or you could make like the Colts and their two-headed quarterback race, just put the word "or" on the depth chart between.
They've done that before here.
Daniel Jones and
They've
Anthony
done
Richardson.
that before.
I actually would prefer that than just adding an extra player to one side of the ball.
Well, the problem with it is they want to give the three cornerbacks all their flowers for starting, but they also want to have two starting inside linebackers. There's where the extra is, but whatever.
Yeah, I get it. And I'm not here to complain because, we
are here to complain. That is one of the deals.
So far, more pads, more better, if you will. A couple of days in a row of pads and then a couple more days in a row in pads. We're here for it. Now I think the question is, all right, what are the starters going to play in the preseason games? We saw the Bengals breaking with what has been tradition for Zach Taylor. They've got off to, just annual slow starts, 0-2, 1-3. So now all of a sudden Joe Burrow and company are going to play in the preseason. Not only play in the opener, play more in game 2. So what does that mean? We know the team coming in off the bat, Andy Reid, he's legendary for playing Patrick Mahomes and company in the preseason.
I heard, I have not seen this myself, but I heard that he's already said, obviously Mahomes not to, but he said the majority of the starters are going to play the whole first half.
Darn tootin'.
Here.
That's what he does normally.
Now, I do think there's been a swing. It seems like there's been a swing across the league of like, okay, we need to get these guys some playing time as opposed to never. The question is, do the Cardinals? More importantly, for somebody who's doing play-by-play and would like to prepare and has 12 defenders to deal with.
We're ready for anything.
Does Jonathan Gannon, forget whether he plays them or not, does Jonathan Gannon tell us whether he's going to play them or not?
That's a good point. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a preseason game. You're not game planning. So I'm not sure what's to benefit or gain from
not saying anything?
Right.
Because he doesn't like to.
Why gamesmanship if you're not even game planning?
Well, Gannon even said that. He's, we're not going to throw even 5 plays on game planning of what Andy Reid likes to do on third down because they're trying to focus on themselves. That's pretty much what every team is doing. No one is really game planning for these preseason games. It would be similar to Zach Taylor with the Bengals. It would be new for a Jonathan Gannon-led Cardinals team to play their starters in the preseason. Now, early on, remember, Kyler Murray was rehabbing that knee, so that was part of the reason he didn't start. Even last year, rookie wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. did not see the field. Well, he had 1 snap, but that was just to get into the rhythm and the scheduling of everything, but didn't play really in the preseason. None of the starters did. That would be new. There's benefit to that of, one, getting used to the schedule and the routine, but then actually going and stepping on to the field and maybe shaking off any sort of nerves, working through any sort of communication kinks, especially when you've got a new green dot and Mac Wilson Sr., and just kind of making sure those mechanics are as smoothed out as possible. You don't need a full game for your starters by any means. Even a quarter is helpful. It would be interesting, though, if we see that change with Gannon.
It's funny. I was thinking, okay, they might have a change. And then last week, Marvin Harrison doesn't practice. Michael Wilson ends up having to come out of practice. And then you start thinking, okay, even if he was planning on doing this, does he get freaked out enough that, okay, we can't. I don't know. I don't know what the original – I shouldn't say original plan. The original plan might still be the plan. Well, we don't know. It's been asked once already, and he basically said, we'll make that decision when we need to make that decision, which is why I wonder if he's going to say anything. I wouldn't be surprised if when we get him on Thursday, which is the last day he talks this week before the Saturday game, it wouldn't be surprised if he says something like, yeah, we're going to have that discussion tonight.
Hey, if they need extra receivers at this point, I'm just saying, Calvisi Consulting, Pauly Preseason Division, I just did the depth chart last night, And
your own depth chart.
The Chiefs depth chart, I did the spotting board, I should say,
Yeah,
and based on the Chiefs depth chart, they have 14 receivers in camp. You know the old, all right, let's throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
Do they have any number ones?
I mean, there's Rashee Rice, there's Hollywood Brown, right?
Hollywood's healthy?
Is Juju Smith-Schuster
No, and a number of those
there?
guys are injured right now and probably will not play.
Rashee Rice is
Juju Smith-Schuster, yep.
Rashee Rice
Sky
very
Moore
likely
was a
is gonna be
second-round
suspended
pick.
at some point.
So, it's all I remember, though, when I think of the opening of a season in the Chiefs and the Cardinals, how can you not think of Week 1, 2022, Cliff Kingsbury's last year, where the Chiefs came out and Mahomes had a 5-touchdown game out of the gate, and one team looked imminently regular season ready, and the other did not. Now, did the Cardinals play a lot of starters last year? No. Marvin Harrison Jr. lamented that a little bit at the beginning of the last season, but the Cardinals went on the road and took a 17-3 lead at Buffalo in Week 1, so they were ready to go out of the gate last year.
Do you remember what was said in 2022 by Isaiah Simmons, linebacker Isaiah Simmons, when talking about
Packers linebacker now.
The Packers linebacker, the poor performance by the defense? He implied that was because they did not get any reps together in the preseason to kind of iron out any wrinkles.
Well, they were changing the green dot at halftime from Isaiah to whoever was wearing it after that. I think it was Zaven Collins took it over after that moment. So, yeah, never a good sign when you're changing out the green dot at halftime of a regular season game. Never a good sign how the defense
it is a good sign is when I can work in Isaiah to a
Yeah.
Cardinals Underground podcast.
Changing green dot at halftime, definitely a red flag.
By the way, I'll just say you can go find some quotes from Isaiah and Packers cap, and he wasn't exactly taking a lot of accountability for where his career has gone. Once again, placing the blame on all the versatile spots and different positions he's played. And so, all right. Now, here's my question. The whole RB1 thing.
Yes.
Are you a believer? Is this really going to, and if so, what does that look like on game day?
I am a believer. I still don't see this as equal reps between James Conner and Trey Benson, who's going into year 2. I respected the way Conner handled his press conference with the media when talking about it. It takes a lot of growth and acceptance for a longtime veteran in the league to go up in front of the media and say, we're co-RB1s, instead of, no, this is still my offense. I'm the one coming out of the backfield and he's the supplemental piece, right? So to be able to say that is incredible leadership. And Conner praised Benson's skill set and what he's able to do and the confidence he has seen rise going into year 2. That's the benefit, is when you have a run-first offense the way the Cardinals do, when you've got a workhorse, a bulldozing running back in James Conner, the reality is you need to make sure you are prepared, even if not for injury, for Conner to take a few snaps off and recover and rest his body and think longevity. Think of making sure, Conner is not just good, ready to go 100%, able to dominate defenses weeks 1 through 4. Can he do the same weeks 14 through 18? And so that's what this is. I appreciated the fact that Conner handled that situation the way he did, and I fully believe that he feels they are co-RB1s.
I agree with you. I appreciated the way he did, and that's why I asked the question. I'm like, do you have to mature to this point in your career? I mean, especially a running back. When you're already a RB1, to see that even if it's not 100% true, that takes something. But I think, James Conner knows he's 30 years old. He knows that you've only got so many seasons left in you and you want to win. And if that means letting Trey Benson do some of the work, then he's going to do it. I think it probably has to do with what the coaches want to do too, and acceptance of that. It's just funny when you hear a guy that all we ever hear from Jonathan Gannon is like, James Conner doesn't want to take any plays off. He doesn't want to not practice. He doesn't want to do this. And then all of a sudden he's saying, yeah, there can be another RB1. I think it's a great notion of leadership because it gives a lot of oomph to Trey Benson when he knows that that's being heard. That James Conner is saying that. And the fact that James Conner said, you don't want to shy away from those conversations, I think that, again, says a lot about him. And let's face it, as we saw Trey Benson last year, right before he got hurt, he was looking more and more like James Conner, which he needed to because the first half of the year he did not.
If he picks up where he left off last year, he's more than equipped to be RB1. And to Dani's point, I like that. Look, this team is going to be judged on November, December, and January. And James Conner with fresh legs in the second half of the season while he's coming out of the bye is not only a plus, it's a necessity for this team. So I could see that. You ride the young guy early, especially against the Saints and some other teams, and then you see if indeed the improvements he's made in the offseason carry over to game day. Here's the other thing. He was compensated nicely with a nice contract extension, James Conner.
Yes.
So he's been taken care of. He is a team captain. At least he has been, and I'm guessing there was a bit of a conversation, maybe not even needed. Just say, look, I mean, we've got a young guy, 22, just turned 23. You're 30 years of age. Show him the way.
Well, go on.
This would be a different conversation if at year 30 Conner was not still producing the way that he is. This is not a situation where Conner's your RB1 for the sole fact that he has the experience and you're trying to respect the veteran that he is. He's still going out there and he is still dominating defenses. That's why this is the conversation that it is. Again, I don't foresee any games where Conner is having less carries than Benson, especially the threat that Conner is in the passing game. I just see this as more of a supplemental, not necessarily 50-50, but a supplemental running backs room.
I don't want to go too far back in time. And James is way too much of a professional to have this really derail anything. However, on draft day 2024, third-round pick on a running back, out of 4 third-round picks, you're the second running back taken in the draft or whatever Trey Benson was.
He was.
Does James Conner hear about this and go, oh, I guess that's it for me? Because at the time, James Conner was at the end of his contract. So the fact that they get the extension done during the season, I agree with you. I think you're in a better place. And again, I think he wants to win. And look, every guy wants to be compensated. James Conner has been a different one. I'm going to go back to when all the running backs a couple of years ago got on the phone call together to basically say, we're all underpaid, what the hell? And James Conner said, I wasn't part of the phone conversation. And every time he talked about being paid, he was a lot more like, look, I'm blessed that I have the contract. He's never been that guy. So there's just something about James Conner all the way around that this co-RB1 thing just fits his personality, which is why he's on this team, besides the fact he's a great player, because he fits so well. I mean, there's nothing bad about James Conner. I will sing James Conner's praises all damn day.
What I'm intrigued about is how often are we going to see them together on the field?
Yes.
And I've swung a miss now twice, Drew Petzing and James Conner himself. What exactly 2 running backs, 2 back sets? Because as someone who endured the entirety of the Hall of Fame game broadcast, there was a lot of discussion about the Lions this year going with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs on the field at the same time. To me, James Conner and Trey Benson on the field at the same time, I think is in the Cardinals' future. I'm not sure exactly how often or how it'll look, but, I mean, if you were to put those 2 guys out there in a 2-back set and all of a sudden James Conner flexes out into the slot because he can really catch the football, just like Trey McBride said, hey, we're going to have more motion in this offense, more sauce. I could see that as something. Here's the other thing with Trey Benson, and I've had a couple of scouts, couple of coaches mention this. The difference between Trey Benson and James Conner, and Conner has his pluses that Benson doesn't, but one thing he does have is finishing speed. So whereas James Conner was among the league leaders in chunk runs last year, 10 and 20 yards, doesn't quite have the jets to finish the length of the field. If Trey Benson gets in the clear, second, third level, he gone at 4-3. And I think that's coming this year. I think there's going to be a 50, 60, 70-yard touchdown run from Trey Benson at some point this year.
That might be your best hot take.
Mark it.
Just, I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it in that front. By the way, in terms of the top 100, here's the other thing. Is James Conner in the top 100 players? No. If this is a playoff team and you're getting national television and they flex you into Monday night or Sunday night towards the end of the year, and now all of a sudden, my other hot take, Budda Baker, if he has the season he had last year for a team in the spotlight, in the limelight quite a bit, I think he's a legit NFL Defensive Player of the Year candidate based on his numbers a year ago. All of a sudden, to your point about James Conner wanting to win, well, guess what? That brings so much more attention. Ask Larry Fitzgerald what happens when you get national attention, you get the spotlight of playoff football.
So that's just the really, really extended monologue of all these guys doing the cliche of if we win, the accolades come.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, other takeaways from the depth chart. Anything? Do you want to stir anything up, Darren? Get out the soup spoon. Any other depth chart
honestly, when you look
narratives
at it,
you want to further?
Was there anything that you're like, oh, no, there wasn't?
I'm going to try real hard to have
not based on what we've seen in camp.
Where can I take umbrage with this depth chart?
People were talking about, Will Johnson's listed as a starting cornerback. Well, yeah. Have you been watching practice for 2 weeks?
You tell him
out there with the first unit.
Okay, so what jumps out to me when you look at this depth chart on the defensive side, in addition to 12, Walter Nolan the third team. So that obviously is going to change at some point, hopefully sooner than later. So what does that mean for the Cardinals in terms of, you have a lot of defensive linemen who are legitimate NFL players.
Yeah.
Does Monty Ossenfort at some point get preemptive? You know what? We have some injury issues at receiver. Who needs a defensive lineman?
Maybe.
What do you got? You start hitting the phones. Maybe we need an extra guard, interior offensive lineman. What do you got? We have a defensive lineman. Are you interested? And now he starts hitting the phones here over the next couple weeks.
Well, first of all, we already know, because it's out there, that Will Hernandez had a visit to the Cardinals. He hasn't been signed. He's coming off an ACL. There's how quickly he could be ready to be what they want to be, and then what does that mean? I think Isaiah Adams is going to start at right guard. I think if Will Hernandez were to come back, he's probably looked at his depth at this point. And, if you get him in training camp, you're in a position where even if he's not all the way ready, you can still put him on the PUP list. And that gives you a little bit of time to get him to where you need him to be. So I'm curious to know, when you talk about a trade, if they add that depth, what does that mean of what they've seen with their guard depth so far? The receiver thing always, we've talked about this. Now, obviously, with Wilson and Harrison being banged up, I think Zay Jones can help them. Do you want Zay Jones being your number one and then Greg Dortch your number two, and then I don't know who's even your number three at this point? But the issue that I have with the wide receiver, when everybody says go sign a wide receiver, I'm like, we've talked about this before, Dani. Where would that person fit? If you go get, and I'm just going to throw out a name because that's the only one I know off the top of my head, but Amari Cooper. Why would Amari Cooper want to come here when his best case scenario, if people stay healthy, is as the number 3 and you're above Zay Jones, but you're not going to get a lot of targets, and you may not even be on the field that much because you're using multiple tight end sets?
Let me play devil's advocate. If you're bringing in a veteran like that, how would they automatically not – is it possible they're not automatically your number 2 receiver? What I've seen online, which I think is a fair question when talking about the receivers, when we talk about depth, and every position is different of what you need, what this offense, in this case specifically, requires and what they want. It's all a numbers game. We talk about the depth at offensive line, the depth they brought in a backup quarterback, the depth in cornerbacks, inside linebackers. What's your comfort level with the depth of wide receiver? If worst case scenario, you have an injury to a top receiver, knock on wood, what is your comfort level with depth? That is where a lot of these discussions of bringing in a veteran receiver stem from.
I totally understand that. But again, what are you telling the player that's coming in, and does that player want to do it? Now, again, if the player wants a job and a paycheck, that might impact something. And we saw last year, Zay Jones, I know for a fact Zay Jones didn't get the kind of targets or play that he wanted to once he got back from the suspension. But he was good in the locker room. He's good in the room. He showed leadership skills with the young receivers. He was a good fit for that. That's one of the reasons they wanted to bring him back. Is there somebody out there that makes sense, that is willing to be in the locker room and as a, in case of emergency, break glass guy? And if there's no emergency, you may not get any. You might not play much.
There may not be a player right now for break emergency that's available.
And the other problem you have with that is, again, I'm throwing a name out just so we can have this discussion. Amari Cooper. You can't have Amari Cooper on the roster if he's not getting targets because he ain't playing special teams. And that's what you need to be active on game days.
Well, guess what, though? Xavier Weaver isn't playing special teams other than the returner. And unless Zay Weaver
I'm with you.
beats out DJ Dallas, Amari DiMercato, Greg Dortch, one of those primary return roles.
You're right.
So if you're going to have that sort of receiver on the roster, maybe it's a guy with experience like Amari Cooper. I get it. If you're on your couch right now and you're Amari Cooper and you're like, you know what? I know Drew Petzing, I know Jacoby Brissett pretty well. Played with both. I've worked with both those guys. And I'm looking at the Cardinals depth chart, and after Marvin Harrison Jr., does Amari Cooper sweat Michael Wilson, Zay Jones? With all due respect, I mean, he puts in a couple of good games. He could climb to wide receiver 2 pretty quickly by midseason if he's a reliable target for a Kyler Murray.
I guess I have Michael Crabtree PTSD.
Maybe a little bit on that. He's about as unique a personality as it gets.
Oh, that's fair.
I mean,
I'm not trying to put Amari Cooper or whoever in
I'm just saying they do have intel in terms of having worked with Amari Cooper before. So, I would, if they made that move, I would feel pretty good about it because they have worked with him as opposed to Michael Crabtree, who's
you're right.
They are unbeknownst to everyone.
Who do you cut at wide receiver? Who's in danger of not being on the roster if you bring in another receiver?
Well, look, right now the made men are Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, and after that, Zay Jones in terms of his contract status. Greg Dortch. If you're telling me Amari Cooper is going to play like he has earlier in his career, I think anyone is up for grabs after the first two.
And that's fair. That's fair.
I will say, don't need to be as long of discussions of that and not necessarily surprises based on what we've seen at practice, but looking at the depth chart. 2 just interesting points on the defense of cornerbacks is having the rookie Denzel Burke and Keitrell Clark ahead of Elijah Jones, who's going into year 2. Didn't have much of a rookie season. He was dealing with a foot injury. He didn't play at all last year. And then similarly, the outside linebackers room having rookie Jordan Birch ahead of Xavier Thomas going into year 2. Not necessarily surprises based on what we've seen at practice, just an interesting,
that's fair.
Interesting point to make from the depth chart.
By the way, Zay Jones has been playing with an edge in this camp. He chucked Max Melton in a one-on-one that would have been flagged. It was really physical, like above and beyond. And then he got in the face of Garrett Williams in the back corner of the end zone after they tussled for a football, and Garrett Williams is celebrating, and Zay Jones didn't like that.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to disagree with you from the standpoint. I think Zay Jones absolutely is on this team. I don't think that's a question. We can talk about the other receivers, and some of Simi Fehoko, Jeff Rodgers wants some special teams guys, and that's a special teams guy. So, but I think Zay Jones is absolutely on this roster.
All right, this is bad timing because Dani's she's hydrating right now, but I think it's time to get cultured. Oh, there we go.
Let's go.
The biggest smile of the podcast.
Don't worry, everyone.
So far.
When we are back in our studio next week, we will have music. So let's just pretend it just wrapped up.
This is just the basics of camp. We don't need no stinking music. Let's go.
Here's the latest craze. Although I think I'm actually technically a little behind in explaining this to both of you. Labubu's. Do you even know what I'm saying? Is that English to you, Paul? Does that register?
The Boo-Boos?
Labubu's.
Labubu's?
I'll be honest.
I think they were a punk band out of Scotland in the late 70s.
Close. They are actually collectibles. They are small plush toys that are on a keychain. It's a bag charm. They have these evil-like expressions where they have these sharp teeth coming out over the lips, and they have these very expressive faces, and they have claws on them. The whole point of it, though, is you don't know what you're getting. You pay roughly $30 or so. There's
what?
And it's limited quality as well, so that's why people quantity. Thank you. Well, yeah, I don't love the quality either, but limited quantity. Thank you. But the whole idea, the fun of it is, it's a surprise. So you buy this box, you don't know which one you're getting, right? And so then,
by the way, $30 a designer drink at the bar these days is $30.
That's not including the outfits people buy for
tariffs.
Their
It's all about the tariffs.
And then if you go on, eBay, whatever, you can find a reseller who's selling them for hundreds, maybe $1,000 if it's a limited edition Labubu.
All right, I know this is way back in the day, but this is like a Beanie Babies thing, and then in 5 years,
except they're carrying them around it's almost like a Tamagotchi or the little
Cabbage
troll.
Patch
I got that, but when you're spending that kind of money, and then you find out 5 years later they're all worth $1.
No, my Beanie Babies in my parents' attic will be worth something someday.
Okay.
And the last point on getting cultured this week, I don't know if you guys saw this, but former Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Des Bryant and rapper Nicki Minaj found themselves in some Twitter beef.
I was hoping this was going to get
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not really going to go into the details. If that intrigues you, you are more than welcome to do some personal research.
I was too busy
much,
grinding on the Kansas City Chiefs 14 wide receivers. I missed this. Go ahead.
Not me. Des Bryant essentially called out Jerry Jones regarding the Micah Parsons trade request, all of those issues going on, and somehow Nicki Minaj found herself involved by inputting herself into this situation. So the two of them were kind of going back and forth, and it got kind of weird. It's a lot to keep up with, but if that intrigues you, I would recommend going through their Twitter accounts. But found himself in some Twitter beef.
I don't follow Nicki Minaj. I don't follow Des Bryant, but that all ended up on my timeline, and I will say that apparently Nicki Minaj is kind of famous for like not only inserting herself into conversations that she wasn't originally in, but also like after a tweet or two going completely like off the rails sideways and talking about this and this and having some weird photo with it.
We should clarify, given what we have seen on Twitter from Nicki Minaj and from her fans, we are not coming for her. We're not criticizing her because I don't want them to come for me. You've both been culture, though. You're welcome.
But it started because of the Micah Parsons thing, and
somehow became
Jerry Jones,
Jay-Z, Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, Jerry Jones was saying stuff about Des Bryant, who was represented by Rock Nation and Jay-Z once upon a time, and apparently Nicki is very close to Jay-Z, and et cetera, et cetera.
The only thing that whole equation is missing, Post Malone. Throw Post Malone into that in a Cowboys jersey. I mean,
is a big Cowboys fan.
Is it me or is Post Malone everywhere? Happy Gilmore 2, Post Malone isn't Happy Gilmore 2. I am so done with Post Malone at this point. I mean, come on.
I will say that I'm a big fan when we can weave some sports into getting culture. That's number one. And I will also give a big thanks to Dani because she brought up Labubu because I said the other day, I'm like, I keep seeing this word on my timeline. What is that? And she's like, I don't want to get into it. And then she said, I'll put it into getting cultured if you want.
You guys should look up pictures of them and how they look and the different colors. But you probably see them and just don't know. They're about this big. They are a good size.
I've been wondering what to get Paul for Christmas, and now I know.
There you go. A Labubu.
I'll take it out for target practice. That'll be good. You two need to give thanks that we don't have any of that sort of non-football narrative or storyline to worry about in this camp.
Okay.
Under Jonathan Gannon and Monty Osborne, it's been
there's a lot out there.
Remarkably quiet. No Terry McLaurin, no Micah Parsons. I mean, the degree to which those topics are dominating NFL discussion on the national platforms.
I mean, I could go on about the Cowboys situation in particular. That's what they like. This happens.
Of course they
now,
do.
it doesn't normally get to this kind of level with Jerry Jones and how he's talking about Parsons and the players, but the Cowboys are the talk of the town. They're the talk of the nation, Paul, and that's the goal, and that is what that ownership likes.
I
would be surprised if Parsons is not on the Cowboys roster active week one, especially they're going to come to a deal. They're not going to trade him.
Terry McLaurin is going to be playing for the Commanders. Trey Hendrickson is going to be playing for the Bengals. Micah Parsons is going to be playing for the Cowboys, in large part because if you don't play and if you aren't there, you're losing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. I understand what these players want to do. I will say this. If there is a player that could really push what he wants to do, it's Micah Parsons. Given his age, there isn't one team out of the other 31 that wouldn't take Micah Parsons today and pay him what he wants.
If there's one player that could sit out and still benefit, it would be Parsons. And
it would be, I mean, I will be honest, and Jerry Jones is, I'm just going to say this. You find Paul, I don't want to say this because you're usually so you watch your tongue.
3, 2, 1. Here we go.
You watch your tongue all the time, Paul.
Yeah.
But as you get older, you do care less and less what
Here we go.
You're just saying what you want to say. Now, Dani does it anyways, depending on her, as young as she is.
I mean, with Darren's 401k, I mean, he has the ability, whatever.
Do you want to look into my big ISO camera for what you're about to say?
Jerry Jones really, that would be frustrating to hear some of the things he said if you're a player the last couple weeks, like he said about Micah Parsons. And that's all I'm going to say about it because, hey, ain't our business. But that is.
All right, here's my segue. You ready?
Yes.
Paris Johnson Jr. faced Micah Parsons and pretty much shut him down as a rookie. If you guys remember, the key to that game was really Jesse Luketa. Because Jesse Luketa was college roommates with Micah Parsons at Penn State.
Oh, yeah, that's
and Jesse
true.
Luketa said, hey, Paris, come here. I got a little intel for you on how to play Micah Parsons. And that was just part of a rookie season where, I mean, Paris Johnson Jr. saw anyone and everyone that year in terms of, marquee pass rushers, including Aaron Donald twice. What do you guys think? What's the feedback been? Paris Johnson Jr., first time in his career, at least since high school, he's played the same position 2 years in a row. Left tackle. Was he the one where Gannon said Mars?
Yes.
Right?
He said his ceiling is really high. I'm talking Mars. And then his next line was, I hope I'm not making any big statements, or I'm paraphrasing.
It's pretty big. Mars?
I hope everybody listening has already read my big story on Paris Johnson Jr. On this subject. If you haven't, it's on azcardinals.com, so I do appreciate that tee up right there, Paul. I think it's interesting to see where Paris goes this season. He has been mentored by Willie Anderson, who was a 3-time All-Pro with the Bengals back in the day, and he's been mentored by Willie Anderson since Paris was going into his sophomore year of high school, and before he had played a down of high school football as an offensive lineman.
Wow.
And so Willie Anderson has seen it all. I was able to talk to Willie Anderson, but from the day that he showed up with Willie Anderson, which was having no clue how to play offensive line and was terrible, to where he is now, where we're talking about can he get to elite status. And again, I mean, we're all going to say it like, I've been covering this league for 25 years. Paul, you've seen it for just as long. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I know just by myself whether a guy is an elite pass protector or offensive lineman. I don't. I mean, I can tell if a guy's really crappy, but we just don't know. And I'm not 100% sure that anybody truly knows unless you're talking about the coaches, because even the other players, they see it to a certain extent, but just like anything, you don't know the alignment and everything. But everybody seems to think Paris Johnson is in a place to take that next level. And Willie Anderson was telling me, and he had just recently talked to Lane Johnson, who obviously is a star tackle for the Eagles. They both kind of feel like their light went on at the very end of their second season, and the third season is where they really took off. That's where we are with Paris Johnson.
It is something to note that in college, no matter where Johnson played on the line at Ohio State, he was incredibly successful. Inside, outside, left side, right side. Comes to the Cardinals, is the right tackle because you still have DJ Humphries on the left side, is the only offensive lineman to play every snap his rookie year, and he looked good. To make the switch back over to the left side, which is actually where Johnson has said he feels most comfortable, to make that adjustment and to still have a very good second year in the league, I do believe that the ceiling is very high of what we can expect to see from Johnson year 3. First time since high school playing the same position back-to-back years. He's comfortable with the scheme. He is comfortable with the timing of his quarterback, who is very mobile and good with his legs and how to make sure that he's not drawing any sort of penalty if Murray is hanging on to the ball. I do think it's fair to say that there are high expectations of Johnson's play, given what we have seen from him at every point in his career.
I mean, look at the teams in the Cardinals division who have really excelled. The Rams were at their best when they had Andrew Whitworth at left tackle. The Niners with Trent Williams. There's every reason to expect Paris Johnson Jr. can be that guy at left tackle long term. I definitely think Josh Sweat is going to help the process. And I didn't get this because it was the first rep of the first O-line, D-line drill in this camp. But not 2 hours after Jonathan Gannon said that Josh Sweat has one of the best speed-to-power moves in the league, he unleashed it on Paris Johnson Jr. in the first rep, and he beat Paris decidedly. He beat him. And Paris bounced up, and you could tell he's like, I want to go again. And then they did, and Paris won the second rep, at least stopped. But Josh Sweat got him. And that's the first time I've really seen Paris got, if you will, in one of those. And so for that reason, I do think Josh Sweat will make him better by the time he gets to the end of this Cardinals season.
I 100% agree with you. And one of the reasons I think Josh Sweat will make him better, or if he ends up having to go against Darius Robinson, or if he sees Calais Campbell at any, is because of who Paris is. One of the things that was straight across the board, and I know coaches, especially when you're doing a story like this, people tend to talk well about him, but I'm doing the story because he's good in the first place, so it's not a huge surprise. Justin Fry, who is now his offensive line coach and coached Paris his last year at Ohio State, said this. Willie Anderson said this. Jonathan Gannon has said this. You will not find a harder worker. And even Paris, when I talked to him about how terrible he was that very first day, I mean, he's been burning since that first day as a sophomore to be in high school to be good at this. It pisses him off when he is not really good. He is extra motivated. We can see, and Paris will joke with you in the locker room. He smiles a lot, but make no mistake, this guy is ultra serious about what he's doing, and he absolutely wants to be elite. Now, he's not saying he's there yet. He is not cocky like that, but he wants to be that guy.
On game day, he doesn't talk until it's breaking the huddle after team warm-ups before they go back into the locker room. He is completely dialed in. He said he does not talk to anyone. He handles his business, and when he breaks that huddle and he's leading the charge as the alpha male he's been described in that offensive line room, that's the first time he's talking on game day.
My favorite story, and I asked him about this recently, December of his rookie year at Pittsburgh, TJ Watt, second half, Cardinals coming back, Cardinals going away with the win, and the ball had gone downfield, but there on the right side, because it was right near the Cardinals sideline, you couldn't miss it. It was front and center. There's Paris Johnson Jr. He's got TJ Watt locked up, and he's driving him towards the sideline, and he's not stopping. As Paris Johnson Jr. likes to say, I'm going to throw him out of the club. And TJ Watt knows he doesn't have the leverage, and he goes down purposely. They go down in a pile, and they start tussling, and then a bunch of dudes jumped in. But right there, I'm like, wow, a rookie taking it to TJ Watt.
One more anecdote from this, from when I was doing the story. Willie Anderson was talking to Paris when he was younger. And Paris was almost 6'6", when he met Willie Anderson the first time. So going into his sophomore year, he was already super big. So when he started playing and he figured some stuff out, he was dominating, especially his junior year. And there were he'd get a lot of crap from opposing players and stuff, basically saying the only reason you're doing this is because you're so much bigger than us. You're not that good, blah, 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 blah. And he said something to Willie Anderson, and Willie Anderson said, look, he goes, I was the same way. I was the big kid, and everybody told me that. There's two ways to approach it. You can just do what you're doing, and if you're soft about it anyways, they're still going to give you trash talk. They're going to trash talk you no matter what. So you can either just go about your business, or you can put on tape this domination, and then not only are you good on the field, but when they're watching the tape to prepare for you, there's a fear factor because you're going to bury them. He goes, if they're going to say it anyways, kick their ass every time. Drive them into the wall. I mean, I keep thinking, I think it was the Dallas game, his rookie year. Didn't he take a cornerback into the wall? I can't remember if it was the Giants or Dallas, but one of those two games, there was a play on a touchdown where he just drove this dude all the way to the wall in the back of the end zone. He didn't need to, but he did it.
That's right. You shut him down, and that's how you shut him up. All right, so that's.
I was going to say, I'm surprised the anecdote you gave from the Steelers game was that, and not the 2-hour rain delay at halftime when you were down on the field.
Yeah.
Darren and I were nice and warm and dry in the press box.
Actually, yeah, there is a Paris component to that too. I actually I stood next to Paris for shelter in that game. Okay, that's how big he is. Now, the second pick of the 2023 draft class, BJ Ojulari, couldn't be more of an unknown. I mean, what I know fans are wondering, all right, really no answers right now as to his status, correct?
I mean, Jonathan Gannon said the other day his rehab has been awesome, but he's still on PUP. I do want to say, and we've had this conversation before, and we've had it about not all knee injuries are the same, and not all ACL injury, and we've seen it a million times. There's multi-ligaments in there.
Yep.
You can have your ACL torn, but you can also have other things torn. I don't know any specifics about BJ, but to just say, hey, this guy was on an ACL and came back in this amount of time, and this guy had an ACL and he came back in this amount of time, So we don't know exactly what all happened, but the fact he's on PUP right now, and again, just as a refresher, they've got 3 guys on PUP right now: Bilal Nichols, Walter Nolan, BJ Ojulari. If you're on PUP, you can remain on PUP to start the season, and you're not wasting a roster spot. If you are on PUP, when the final roster is made, you have to stay on the PUP list for at least 4 games. That's been shrunk. I think it was 6 originally, so it's only 4 now.
Okay.
But that's something to keep in mind when we do final cuts. If one of these guys is still on PUP when the season starts, they're going to miss at least the first 4 games.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I tell you what. How about some winning behavior in honor of Will Johnson?
Ooh,
and Will Johnson. Every week we should have like a face of winning behavior, right? Someone who has been winning at the game of football. So would you guys agree, Will Johnson at this point, coming off the red and white, he would be that player, correct?
Yeah. Look, I'm going to say this. I'm super conservative, and fans hate me for it. I'm not going to clickbait all over the place about historic training camps. But Will Johnson, and he's certainly not having a historic training camp, but Will Johnson looks really damn good, Dani. Really good.
In your defense, I'm not sure a historic training camp exists when most of them are in T-shirts and shorts and routes on air. Will Johnson has looked very good, and what you're talking about, that red and white practice, was a very nice interception where Johnson had a great read, came back, got in front of the wide receiver, snagged the interception right as he was going out of bounds. It was a really nice play. There's a reason Johnson has been getting first-team reps, is he's clearly understanding what is being asked of him from the mental standpoint. And that's a position room with a lot of competition. And as this coaching staff still decides on how they want to approach different packages, especially not having 2 starters in Sean Murphy-Bunting and Starling Thomas, it's very clear that they like Will Johnson and what we have seen of him in practice. Look, he's fluid, he's fast, he's able to read what the offense is doing, he's got good hands. So it'll be interesting to see, one, how much he plays in preseason, going back to the beginning of how much starters play, if rookies have any sort of different rules is not the right word, but if they approach rookies any different, that is absolutely a player to continue to keep an eye on.
When you say winning behavior, one-on-ones is not a place where defensive backs have the upper hand. And I think it was against Tajon Palmer, so not one of the top receivers, but still, there was a one-on-one rep last week where he essentially ran the route and knocked the pass down. And the only reason he didn't get the pick was because I think the quarterback realized, oh, crap, Will Johnson ran the route and was in a better – there was no way the ball was getting to Palmer. That's winning behavior.
He's been so good at times. I've literally said to Pasher Wolf on the sideline, come on, he knew the play. In high school football, we used to call those guys All-Americans. When the defensive guys knew the plays, at some point you know the plays, right? And then they jump the play and they make the play. Oh, Mr. All-American, right? You sniffed it out and you snuffed it out because you knew the play. He's been so good. Wait a minute. Come on now. The playbook is such that he's probably the single player that I want to see the most against Denver in the joint practice.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to see him against other receivers and how he keeps up and competes. So, all right, in honor of that, winning behavior, which is sort of our way of saying a lot of these examples here display non-winning behavior. Where do you guys want to start?
We do end up with a lot of that stuff.
Yes, we do.
I do feel bad.
Like Jared Allen splitting his pants on stage in the Hall of Fame induction.
I'll take that as winning behavior.
Why
not?
Splitting
it's
his
fun.
pants?
It's fun. Who cares? He's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame.
At least it was the inseam along the thigh. It could have been a lot worse in terms of placement.
I will say this. Jared Allen is one of those guys that can tear his pants, and you're like, he can work that in.
That's right. So did Chris Farley. He works it in.
When Larry Fitzgerald goes into the Hall of Fame next year, he is not a guy that I think would handle splitting his pants.
Remind me, back in, I think it was 2022 when we were in Minnesota, was it Jared Allen who they have riding on the horse?
Yes, that was him.
Pre-game?
Oh, yeah.
With his hair flowing?
Absolutely. That's my famous
I take that. That's winning behavior to me.
That's my famous Jeremy Bridges story, real quick, Jared Valdir.
Is this when he was talking about how you had the stripper DJ voice?
No. Jeremy Bridges, all-time personality and a long-time offensive lineman in this league. Jared Valdir went down in a game against the Vikings, and Jared Allen was dominating. And Bridges was really more of an interior offensive lineman at that point in his career. And on the sideline, he started campaigning and telling the coaches, let me play him. I'm going to go fight him. That's why I'm just going to go fight him. That was it. I'm going to go fight him.
So Jeremy Bridges.
And he did. He went out there and he literally it was like a street brawl against Jared Allen the rest of the game.
They won that game, though, 2009.
Yes, they did. That was great.
I mean, I have to say this one was – this struck me. This is winning behavior from parents that really – there was a baby born at the end of July 26th. So, like, 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, from an embryo that was frozen in 1994.
That's not a long time ago, Darren. Why are you saying that was such a long time ago?
It is so that's just crazy to me. That's crazy that
science is pretty crazy.
I mean, in 1994, which was back during Walkmans and all that, I mean, we had the technology to freeze an embryo in 1994. Really?
Well, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It was funny, some of the memes that came out over social media. Like, can you imagine being when you're a teenager and you're being told you could have been born for when Halo first came out and Madden and
right, yeah. That's okay. All right.
Impressive.
Well, it's pre-internet, but we could freeze embryos. That's interesting. All right. What else do you have here? Oh, the truckload of hot dogs in PA.
I'm intrigued.
Truckload of hot dogs gets spilled on a Pennsylvania interstate.
Wow.
My favorite part was the quote from the fire chief. I can tell you personally, hot dogs are very slippery.
Is that buns included or just the actual hot dogs?
I think it's just the hot dogs.
So the hot dogs,
not as intrigued.
The hot dogs have some Greg Dortch to them.
Somebody
really
called
slippery.
Joey Chestnut.
Okay, that's right.
Clean it up.
There you go.
I mean, once they're that's just
Pennsylvania farm country. I now think of Chad Ryland, Cardinals kicker, in a video you can find on Cardinals social media. Spirit animals. He went with dairy cow because he grew up on a farm in Pennsylvania. So there's my connection to the Cardinals on that one. Chad Ryland.
We don't want to spill any spilled hot dogs.
I asked him about it, by the way. I did grill him about it. He still owns it. He said that wasn't for the cameras. His spirit animal is a dairy cow. So
more power to him.
The spirit animal social thing was awesome, especially when Michael Carter said his spirit animal was 2016 LeBron James.
Which Paul and I took as goat. That must mean his spirit animal is a goat.
He didn't really say goat, but that's fair.
Yeah, that was a good one. Okay, and then what else? What is some zoo in Denmark?
This last one, and I noticed that there's starting to become some backlash to this zoo.
I hope so. My goodness. So they need food for their predatory animals in this zoo in Denmark.
So they're asking for donations of small pets.
Not rodents you find in your garbage can but your pet?
Now, to be fair,
the audacity of a Facebook post?
The post said, if you have a healthy animal that needs to be given away for various reasons, feel free to donate to us.
Hand them over with their death.
The zoo points to guinea pigs, rabbits, and chickens as possible donations. They will be gently euthanized.
I hate that.
And then torn apart by the predatory animals in the zoo.
Not a fan.
I mean,
not a fan. Denmark, not winning behavior.
I don't know if that's winning behavior. They did talk about the natural chain of the natural food pyramid or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
So if your pet gerbil dies or something, don't bury it in the backyard. Just take it to the zoo.
Well, they did say healthy, so it depends on why it dies.
Beggars can't be choosers.
This is true.
You want to talk about natural selection.
All right. Well, we'll leave you with this. As we've been doing this podcast, NFL Network, Good Morning Football, they've been focusing on the NFC West, and they had the panelists rank the quarterbacks in the NFC West. And Jamie Erdahl went on a big rant about how she has every other quarterback ahead of Kyler Murray. So if Kyler is looking for even more motivation this year, the other three panelists had it: Stafford, Brock Purdy, Kyler, Sam Darnold. But she said, based on last year, how can you not put Darnold ahead of Kyler? Based on, so did you see his last two games? Week 18 in the playoff game? Yeah, that's how we can put Darnold in the basement, especially behind that janky Seattle offensive line. That would be my reasoning there. But at this point, I think Kyler ahead of Brock Purdy, make that happen. That is feasible. That is doable. That is plausible this year.
We're still relatively early. We're still a month out from games that matter. However, Matthew Stafford still having back issues. Yeah. I do agree he's the best quarterback in this division if he's healthy.
I mean, it'd be one thing if he had a sprained ankle, a back.
Bring out Jimmy Garoppolo.
For a quarterback.
Isn't that the backup in L.A.?
That is correct.
I mean, you talk about getting rid of the ball quickly. You watch, Matthew Stafford will be getting rid of the ball quicker than any quarterback in the league this year if he's dealing with a problematic back issue.
Somehow be more immobile than he has in years past.
Yeah. By the way, you don't see the Rams. Cardinals don't see the Rams until the final six games of the year, right? Two times in the final six games.
Remember, DJ Humphries is now in L.A.
That's right. That's right.
And when I think when he signed there, they said like there's a really good chance he's going to be on that team because they need a backup tackle.
So, okay. Well, look, we'll see whether we do see Kyler in the preseason. We know he's been talking about doing the boring stuff a little bit more, which Kurt Warner has been saying for a couple of years now. Take the layups, right? Take the layups. Take the layups. Okay. We'll see how that tracks. There you go. That'll do it for this edition of Cardinals Underground.
We're back in the office next week.
Okay.
If you say so, I don't know days of the week now.
Yeah, I know, I'm lost. No, we're back in the office. There's a trip to Denver next week, but we're going to do our normal Underground on Tuesday because you guys have a lot of other stuff to get done while we're in Denver. So we'll have to do. I'm going to do some audio catch up with Craig Grillo on Cover 2 about that practice.
Everyone have the game broadcast on, and then also have the radio on. Paul's doing play-by-play.
Paul's doing play-by-play.
No, that's AQ
TV
Shipley.
and radio.
Oh, that's true.
Debut.
AQ Shipley.
That is the first, second, and
but
third
see,
headline.
here's the problem. As we wrap this up, Paul doesn't know who's going to be on defense. And there's 12 defenders. He's already.
By preparing for 12, you're actually going to be more prepared for the 11.
He's going to be sweating. He's going to be like, I'm preparing for 12 guys. How am I supposed to just deal with this?
Wait till AQ sees the spotting board with 180 players on it. Okay, that's when you know it's the preseason. By the way, AQ, I hope you know the rule book cold. Okay, I'm counting on you for the minutia of the game. That'll do it for this edition of Cardinals Underground, brought to you by Pacific Office Automation.